The elevator doors slid shut with a soft metallic sigh, and in that quiet moment, Daniel Harper felt the familiar weight of being invisible press against his chest, the kind of silence that comes when a man has lost almost everything except his child and his pride, unaware that this single, accidental step into the wrong elevator was about to tear open a past buried under years of sacrifice and shame, and place him face to face with a woman whose gasp would change the course of his life forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when strangers cross paths at the exact right moment, please take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this are meant to travel far beyond one screen. Daniel had not planned to be in the glass tower that scraped the sky like a blade of wealth and power. He was a poor single dad, hands rough from night shifts and odd jobs, wearing a jacket that had known better years and shoes polished with care rather than money. He had come only to deliver maintenance paperwork for a subcontractor, hoping to get paid before the end of the week so he could afford his son Liam's asthma medication without choosing between that and groceries. The building was warm and smelled of polished marble and expensive coffee, a world that never seemed to notice men like him. Distracted by exhaustion and the ache in his lower back, Daniel stepped into the first open elevator without reading the sign, unaware that he had entered the private lift reserved for executive floors. As the doors closed and the elevator rose smoothly, he stared at his reflection in the mirrored wall, seeing not just the tired man he had become but flashes of who he used to be, before grief hollowed him out and responsibility shaped every decision he made. Several floors above, in an office carved from glass and steel, Evelyn Carter stood reviewing numbers that most people could not even imagine, the billionaire CEO known for her sharp instincts and iron composure. Her days were a relentless procession of meetings, decisions, and expectations, and she had long learned how to keep emotion locked away where it could not interfere with power. When the private elevator chimed and the doors opened, she expected an assistant or a board member, not a man who looked as though life had wrung him dry. The gasp left her before she could stop it, not because he did not belong there, but because she knew that face, older now, thinner, marked by sorrow and time, yet unmistakably the same. Years crashed into her in a heartbeat, memories of a young engineer with hopeful eyes, a man who once believed in building things that lasted, a man who had disappeared the night her world fell apart in ways no headlines ever captured. Daniel froze the instant he saw her, the air seeming to vanish from the elevator. He recognized Evelyn instantly, though she looked nothing like the woman he once knew, wrapped now in elegance and authority, her name synonymous with success. His heart pounded with the old pain he had spent years burying beneath responsibility and routine. He felt out of place, exposed, as though the building itself was judging him, and he considered stepping out and apologizing, but the doors closed behind him with finality. In that suspended space, the distance between them was not measured in feet but in the years that had passed since his life had imploded. Once, Daniel had been brilliant and driven, on track for a future that promised security and pride. Then his wife's sudden illness, the mounting medical bills, and the night she died in a hospital room lit by flickering monitors had shattered everything. With a newborn son and no family to fall back on, Daniel had walked away from ambition without looking back, choosing survival over dreams, never knowing how deeply his disappearance had been misread by those left behind. The ride upward felt endless as unspoken truths pressed in on both of them. Evelyn's carefully constructed composure cracked as she took in the small details she could not ignore, the calloused hands, the way Daniel carried himself as though bracing for impact, the quiet dignity that refused to fully bow to hardship. She remembered the version of herself who once loved without calculation, before power taught her to measure every risk. Back then, she had believed Daniel had abandoned not just her but a shared future, choosing fear over partnership. That belief had hardened her, fueling a climb so steep it left little room for forgiveness. Seeing him now forced her to confront the possibility that she had never known the whole truth, that while she was building an empire, he had been fighting a private war to keep a small life afloat. When the elevator finally reached its destination, reality intruded with a soft chime. Security protocols triggered, assistants glanced over, and whispers began to ripple. Daniel's instinct was to shrink, to apologize for existing in a space that clearly did not want him, but something in Evelyn's expression stopped him. It was not pity that held him there, but recognition and regret. She intervened swiftly, dismissing the attention with a gesture that reminded everyone who held power, and ordered the elevator to be cleared. In the quiet that followed, the walls seemed to close in again, but this time the silence felt different, heavy with the weight of things finally seen. Daniel's struggle had not ended with that ride, yet in that moment, the grinding loneliness he carried cracked just enough to let in light. Days turned into weeks, and the accidental encounter rippled outward in ways Daniel never anticipated. Evelyn, driven by a need she could no longer ignore, quietly investigated his life, uncovering the years of sacrifice, the hospital records, the jobs taken and lost, the nights slept in his car when rent ran short, and the boy whose medical needs had shaped every choice his father made. The story did not fit the narrative she had clung to for so long, and the realization unsettled her more than any market crash ever had. She reached out through channels that respected Daniel's pride, offering work that valued his skills rather than his past, opportunities that did not feel like charity but like recognition delayed. For Daniel, accepting help was its own battle, but when he looked at Liam struggling for breath one night, he understood that strength sometimes meant allowing a door to open after years of pounding on walls. As Daniel rebuilt, the changes were not instant miracles but steady steps, reliable income, proper medical care, evenings where exhaustion did not eclipse hope. Evelyn watched from a careful distance, learning what it meant to repair rather than conquer, to listen rather than command. Their shared past did not rewrite itself into a fairy tale, but it softened, reshaped by honesty and time. Trust grew slowly, fragile but real, grounded in the understanding that both of them had survived in the only ways they knew how. The wrong elevator had become a right moment, a reminder that life's most powerful turns often arrive unannounced, wrapped in inconvenience and fear. If this story has touched your heart, if you've ever felt invisible, misunderstood, or one step away from giving up, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, share, and subscribe, because your engagement helps these stories reach people who need to hear that hope still exists, even in the most unlikely places. And before we close, please comment below and tell us what part of this story moved you the most, because your words matter more than you know. In the end, Daniel Harper did not become rich overnight, and Evelyn Carter did not suddenly forget the weight of her empire, but both learned that success without compassion is hollow, and survival without hope is unbearable, and somewhere between the floors of a towering building, a poor single dad and a billionaire CEO rediscovered the humanity that had been waiting all along to be seen.